These are the most perfect, scrumptious, gooey, delicious pumpkin chocolate chip cookies, and these are vegan, so even better. It is fall time, so these are so perfect, and even if it's not fall time, these are still so perfect. To make these, first in one bowl you will add 1 cup of cold unsalted butter. You do not want your butter to be completely melted. And then you'll add in your 2/3 cup of pumpkin puree. I'm using the brand Libby or something like that. It's like a good brand, you know, but I think any brand works, to be honest. I don't do anything to the puree. I literally just open up the can and I measure it and I toss it into my bowl. As I said, this recipe is vegan. It does not have eggs. So instead of eggs, I'm using 2 tablespoons of unsweetened applesauce. Next, I will add 1/2 cup of sugar. You can also replace this with like date sugar or whatever you desire. And then I will add 1/2 cup of light brown sugar. Make sure that it is fresh and not all hard. Next, add your 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And using a spatula or your electric mixer, you will mix this all up. I was too lazy to pull out my electric mixer, so I just used my spatula and it still worked because after this I actually grabbed my hand whisk and I just whisked it all up until it was all, mixed up well. And it worked out well. However, I will say that if I use the electric mixer, this probably would have been a little better, but they still turned out amazing. So mix, and then in a separate bowl, you will gather your 2 cups plus 1/3 cup of flour of your choice. Now later on in the video, you will see me add more flour, but in total, this is what I use. And then 2 1/2 teaspoons of pumpkin spice. This, of course, is a key ingredient. It doesn't matter what brand you use, okay? I just grabbed and used whatever was available. Measure it all up. Yes, of course, make sure you measure it. And then the next thing you will add is your 1 teaspoon of baking soda and a dash of salt. Grab your little hand whisk and just mix it all up. Make sure that it's all evenly distributed throughout the flour, and then you'll be ready for the next step. Now you will simply add your dry ingredients to your wet ingredients, and then using a spatula, you will fold this all in. Make sure that it is fully incorporated, but do not overmix, okay? As I previously mentioned, that I ended up adding more flour. So you may see me add more flour, okay? Because I was trying to figure out what consistency would be best for this type of cookie. And just keep in mind that when you use pumpkin puree, it's going to give you this like sticky, not sticky, it's more like this wet batter, but that is normal. So here you see me add more flour, but like I said, in total what I used is what was noted, which was 2 cups and 1/3. That's what worked out for me. And here I am just testing out the dough, and again, I just trusted that this was gonna work even though it felt so sticky. That's how pumpkin puree works, okay? I did end up refrigerating this dough. Before doing that, I added my chocolate. So I grabbed this milk chocolate bar. You can use whatever chocolate of your choice you would like. I like to use my favorite chocolate bar, and then I just chop it up. And then I also added mini semi-sweet chocolate chips. So actually this chocolate bar right here is not vegan, but you can easily find a vegan substitution for a chocolate bar and it's gonna work just the same, okay? Trust me. Even if it's not milk chocolate. So yeah, chop it up. I feel like the chopped up chocolate always adds a nice touch. And go ahead and add in as much chocolate chips and chocolate chunks as your little heart desires. So as you see me here, I'm adding in both, okay? And then I'm just going to use my spatula to fold it into the dough. Mix, 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 and then boom, your dough is almost ready, because after this step I actually covered it with foil and I put it in the fridge overnight. Now, I would suggest that you do this just because this batter is a little more on the sticky side. It just works a little better if you refrigerate it. Then again, you can experiment, okay? You can experiment with a dough ball that's not refrigerated and one that you do refrigerate, just to see which you enjoy more. Look at this beautiful dough. Okay, gorgeous. But anyways, yes, I would suggest that you do refrigerate it. And with this dough, I suggest that you flatten out your dough ball. As you see, this is what I did. Then I placed it in the oven. Another option is that you can scoop out a dough ball and then with a spoon just make a little indent. Place a little chunk of chocolate in the center and then cover it up as you see me do here. And then once again, you're going to flatten it out so that it has some room to expand when it bakes. Definitely going to expand. So boom, this is how my cookies came out. On the left side, you see a beautiful cookie that I flattened out. And here on the right side, this one right here, I did not flatten out that dough ball as much. So if you like cookies that are a little chunkier, then I suggest you don't really flatten it out. If you like cookies that are more like this on the left, I recommend that you do flatten out your dough ball. Now, as always, make sure that your oven is preheated. Your oven should be preheated at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. I always say this in all my baking videos. Everyone's oven is different. So I always recommend that you try one cookie at first, okay? Just experiment. You don't want to just throw in a bunch of dough balls into the oven and then mess up, So just try with one to begin with. So place parchment paper on your baking tray, spray it with baking spray, flatten out your dough ball, and then put it inside of your preheated oven and see how it comes out. 11 minutes worked out for me, but again, it depends on your oven. You may need to bake it for a little more or a little less. And look at this perfection. This cookie right here happens to be the one that I put chocolate inside in the middle. If you're a fan of that, I highly recommend you do that with these cookies. If you're not a big fan of that much chocolate, then simply don't do that. You don't have to add all this chocolate if you're not that big of a fan of chocolate. If you want to enjoy the pumpkin flavor more, then just add less chocolate. But these are just incredible. Look at that gooey, soft center. They are so perfect, so pumpkin flavored, but also chocolate flavored. And then if you sprinkle some sea salt on top, it also gives a nice touch. Okay, now this cookie right here, it happens to be the one that I did not put extra chocolate in the middle. So as you can see, look at that center. It's a lot more like cakey, but it's still very soft. Both cookies were incredible. So it really comes down to your preference. Do you like more chocolate or a little less chocolate? I really hope that you enjoyed this recipe. It is super easy and perfect for the fall time. And also this recipe makes a lot of cookies. I just didn't show all the cookies that it made on screen. I ended up refrigerating the rest of my dough and making them when I had more time. Comment below if you enjoyed this recipe. Did you give it a try? Did it work out for you? Do you have any questions or comments? What is your favorite fall recipe?